You're watching the Forefront Church video podcast. And wherever you're at viewing online, we just want to say thank you and welcome. And one of the ways that we can help connect with you is we want to hear from you and where you're at and how we can help. And so head over to forefrontchurch.info after the message and click the Connect tab. It's a great way for us to help you along your spiritual journey as you connect with God and learn about Jesus. And so sit back, relax. We hope that you're challenged and encouraged from today's message. Facebook Live, it is good that you are tuning in. Give us some emojis, where you're tuning in from, why you're not here right now, which you would know if you were here because this room is full. 10 a.m. How are we doing? We're done. Just going home. Just going. You guys are amped. You're excited. I will say this before we get into the message. You've seen as we've been doing construction for our family ministry center that's going to be hopefully done by February. Pray for no crazy weather. It's hard to park around the building. So a couple, these are tips about parking here at Forefront Church from Jason Bedell. Make sure, and then we'll get into the message because our parking team was like, yo, it's crazy out there. I'm like, yeah, it's like Mad Max and the whole deal. So here's the deal. We want you to be able, like, if you have a question about where to park, circle the building and flag someone down and they'll help you park. 2, I know you want to like hang out and talk to your friends a bunch, but we have 3 services and they need a place to park because right now there is one place to park in the parking lot. And so I know you love your friends. Be like, yo, I'll call you this week and then get together and that'd be even awesomer. So awesomer. And we really like that. And so I love you guys. I'm thankful for you. And this is a great time to tell you we have 2 other services at 8:30 and 11. At 11:30. Whoops, that would have been bad. So 8:30 and 11:30. And so usually 11:30 is a little lighter than this, elbow to elbow. So if you're like, man, I like people, but I'm not liking people that much, and you're anxiety driven, 11:30 is for you. So that is the plan. Everybody on Facebook Live's like, I didn't have to worry about parking or anything. And then you didn't get to see all these lovely people. And so, come on. But not this hour, 11:30. And so I'm going to pray, and we're going to jump in. Let's pray together. God, I thank you for today. I thank you that this church is not about the name Forefront. It is not about any branding. It is not about lights or sound systems or even current or future buildings or parking lots. It is about Jesus, which is why we're here. It's why we gather. It's why we celebrate. It's why we have life today. I thank you for everybody that is here, whether they are skeptical, doubtful, to the hopeful, to those who need hope. All of us are in this together, chasing after you, even if we're not sure about it yet. I'm glad that the entire spectrum is here. God, thank you. We love you. It's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Now, I have to ask you guys a question. How many of you have ever had a moment where you took on a job and pretty quickly realized, I am not qualified for this position? Show of hands. Yeah, you're honest. I have definitely done that. Actually, almost 11 years ago to the day, it was this position. I was asked, and they were like, hey, would you like to take that? I was on staff, and I was like, no, I'm good. I like being behind the scenes. They're like, no, we'd really like it if you'd lead the church and speak. I was like, no. And 3 months later, after my wife and I praying, she was more confirmed on it first than I was. And so guys, listen to your wives. And so she was like, I think this is the right thing. And I'm like, you need to talk to God more. And sure enough, I ended up taking a position. So I took the position on a Sunday, and the next day, I left. I'm the boss, and I left. I drove down with the former lead pastor, and we drove down to Atlanta, Georgia to host a backstage experience for a conference for pastors and Christian leaders. It's called Catalyst Conference. We're taking our staff this next week to go down there. And so 11 years ago, we trucked down to Atlanta, and we host the Backstage Online experience. I've been on the job for 1 day, and I've left the staff. I'm like, this is not what thing you're supposed to do. But we went down there and did it. And so we're hosting the Backstage thing, meeting all these speakers, interviewing them afterwards. And there was one speaker that was absolutely amazing. His name is Matt Chandler. I had not really heard of him before until that moment. And he got up there, and there's like 12,000 Christian leaders and pastors from all over the country, some even from around the world. And I'm just soaking in because I know we have to ask questions. And he gets up there and he tells this story that to this day has sat with me. Gets up and he says, hey, early on in ministry, when I was going to college, me and my buddy, we met this girl that was in class with us. She was a little older, single mom. She was in an extramarital affair. And we thought like, hey, we're going to be, pastors one day. We want to pour out love to her. And so they did. They were babysitting her kid, doing whatever they could. And they had a friend that was going to be playing a Christian concert here, playing a bunch of music. Hidden sermon will get poked in there somewhere. And so they thought this will be a great opportunity. It's not going to be a very long message. It won't be too overwhelming. So they brought her that. She said, sure. The music was great. She seemed to be enjoying it. And he's sharing the story from the stage. And then here comes it's supposed to be only 5 minutes where the guy comes up and kind of gives hey, this is all surrounding about Jesus. You should follow Jesus, rah, 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 team Jesus, whatever. He gets up there, he says, so tonight, what we're going to talk about is sex. To about 1,000 middle school, high school, and college age students. And they're like thinking to themselves, this person that we care about that's been abused in her past is in an affair, this whole thing, this was the wrong night. And so he gets up there, and before he does, he said, he talks about purity and everything, and he's holding this rose, and he's waving the rose around, and he said, this is what God calls us to. It's lovely, it's amazing. Here, pass it around. And so it goes around this room, 1,000 people. It's going around. He does his talk, all the hellfire and brimstone, the whole thing. If you grew up in church at all, you may have experienced this where you only started following Jesus because you were terrified of hell, not because you wanted to follow an amazing God, but because you're like, I don't want that. And so that is not good motivation at all. Fear is not. And so he passes it around, he gets to his crescendo, and he says, where's my rose? And as Matt is sharing this story, the guy that was speaking said, where's my rose? And he picks it up, and the rose is falling over. It's broken, the petals, whatever. He said, who would want something like this? And Matt begins to share that he is enraged. In this stage, you can hear a pin drop. There's thousands of pastors and leaders listening. Because all I wanted to do was stand up in that moment and go, Jesus wants the rose. If anybody, he would be the one that would want it. What are you talking about? And he was livid about the experience, and he's apologizing to his friend, and he spends the rest of his talk going, hey, listen, if you're going to be a follower of Jesus, then you better act like a follower of the one that you actually follow. So he gets off the stage. I'm ready to rededicate my life to the Lord. I'm like, whatever I need to do. And he gets off, and we interview him back there. And we're asking questions. We get done with the online interview. I said, hey, nice meeting you. Amazing talk. I'm 1 day on the job, and I'm just soaking in. He had been doing this for a while and said, can I ask you a question? Wanted to respect his time. He said, sure. I said, I'm recently taking this position. He said, how long you been on the job? I said, a day. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. And I said, what advice would you give to somebody who's recently taking the job? He's like, real recently. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I think I would tell you, if you go back to past you, what would you share? He goes, I think I would tell myself that not only you have to be intentional with your faith, but you have to make sure that everybody that you talk to, if they're going to follow Jesus, is intentional about their faith. Because if you're not intentional about your faith, you will slip, and everybody that you encounter, this isn't just pastors, this is you as a believer, everybody you encounter who doesn't have faith lives off your faith until they can have the faith of their own. And so, as you are moving in this, if you don't have a strong faith, everybody's getting a cheap imitation faith. And so be intentional and teach others to be intentional. And that always has sat with me, which is why we started this series just a few weeks ago. And I want to give you a little bit of a recap. If you have been with us over the last few weeks, you are tired of hearing the quick Cliff Notes version of this, but I don't care, because just like telling my kids to put their shoes away, I've said it thousands of times. You know what they don't do? put their shoes away. And so like my oldest does, but the younger ones, they're like, oh, what shoes? And running around. And so I know that we are, the biggest kept secret that nobody says is adults are still we have no idea what we're doing. We're still all trying to figure this out. And so we started in week 1 and we used this illustration. We said, all right, this here, and we use this 3D pin art. We said, all right, this on its own can do nothing. I could set it down. It'll never make a shape. The only way that it can make a shape and have any interaction is if we do what? We touch it. And so we engage it. We're intentional with what we do. We can move it, and it can create different things. My mouth still has looked awful every week. And we do it. Why? Because we know, a little too much laughter back there. And so we know that when we engage that, it's going to have, and we do that with intention. We're not haphazard with it. And if we take that broader view, we go, all right, with my faith, I have to be intentional with what I do. But there will be days that you don't feel like it, which is why in week 1 we said, even when you don't feel like it, because you're going to wake up and be like, I don't want to go to church. Oh, 10 a.m. service is the easiest for me, but it's always really packed and whatever. We offer 2 other services. This makes it really easy for you. Oh, I don't want to. I'll just tune in online. And that goes to 1 week, to 5 weeks, to 8 weeks. Then you don't even tune in. Then you do whatever. And they go, why is my life falling apart? And I go, I think I might know why. It's so we go, even when we don't feel like it, we will be intentional. Intentionality fosters moments to see his movement and to be refreshed. We said in week 1, Pew Research and Gallup studies show, especially in America, that we're busy and tired. This week, count the number of people when you talk with them that say they're really busy and really tired. We want God to refresh our souls, which is why we want to be intentional, which led us to week 2. Focus comes when we intentionally. All right, God, we took the big view. I'm going to get down into the weeds a little bit with this. Focus comes when we intentionally release the commotion, that thing in your pocket that's beckoning your attention, that you scroll in the morning and scroll at night, and all the different things pulling and vying for your time and connection. We're going to withdraw from that to solitude, but not take a vacation. That's great, but we're going to specifically do this for encountering God. We gave 3 people envelopes, Leanne, Sarah, and Greg. They intentionally said, man, it's really hard to give away money. This is harder than I thought. And every single one of them intentionally began thinking, God, how can I do this in a way that would impact others? I got to focus on you, got to listen to you, got to understand your leading. They ended up helping a waitress at a restaurant who was overwhelmed with joy about it. Another person said, all right, I'm going to help people that are homeless, that kids that need Halloween baskets so they can feel like the rest of their peers. Another person said, you know what, I know somebody who is in need. I'm going to give it to him. I had no idea that they gave to a person who couldn't fill up their car to go to an interview and was asking God how they were going to get money for a car to fill up their gas tank to do it. And so when we're intentional, not only does God move in us, but he moves in others. So said, all right, we will do this so we can encounter God, which led us to the next week, which says we're not just going to sit back idly and wait for God to happen. The whole premise, and if you've said this, I love you, but it is annoying to hear, let go and let God. Stop saying that. Because it's passive. It says, I'm letting go. I'm going to sit back in a chair. God, do your thing. I'm going to have this margarita. Let me know when we're done and call me into the action. God wants us to be active participants, not sideline bleacher watchers. Get into the arena and fight. And if you're not willing to fight, please, I love you. I will help you find another church because here we will fight for people's lives because people matter. And we'll do it with diligence. And so how can we draw that in and focus that in even greater? Because we want to be people who follow Jesus. Because here's what we know over time, and please don't miss this. A moment with Jesus changes everything. That when you and I can engage this, you guys online, when we are able to dive into what Jesus has for us, everything changes. But we have to be patient and not a passive patience that, again, let go and let God. Patience doesn't mean that it's passive. Patience doesn't mean that you're weak. You could stand strong in it. And I love the way the half-brother of Jesus actually talks about this very premise in the book of James. If you have a Bible, I'd love for you to turn over there. If you don't have a Bible, I want to let you know, pick one up for free today for you guys who are here in the lobby. There's no catch. that's a gift for us to you. If you're new with us, we even have another gift. We would just want to care for you well. Also, you guys online, and even here if you're digitally inclined, forefrontchurch.info, just scroll to the notes section. Every week, everything that we're talking about is there. Take notes, email them back to yourself, follow along. And I love James' perspective because he's the half-brother of Jesus. He didn't even believe that his brother was the Son of God for a very long time. And I've heard this question asked by different leaders and in books and stuff, like, what would it take for your sibling to convince you that they're the Son of God? Exactly. And so if anybody that we can trust, wouldn't it be the one that was the most skeptical? Why can't you be more like Jesus? Why can't you be more like your brother? He says he's the Son of God. And later on in his life, James began ministering to people and believed in his brother truly was, his half-brother was the Son of God. And so when he pens these words, I think that he has even more authority to encourage us about what it means to be diligent, focused, in solitude, and patient in our faith. Check this out. He says, be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn, spring rains. But you know as well as I do, if you've done any type of thought through in grade school, whatever, in agriculture, a farmer doesn't just do one day's of work and then sit for the rest of the days. He's constantly out there. She's constantly out there, all tilling the field, doing what needs to be done, putting the seed down, moving fields over from one to another because that soil was that last year's crop. We need to move it over. There is a constant movement. And so when we see this in patience, please don't think that patience means I'm patient, like a waiting room where we just sit and tap our foot, think about things. That it is an engaging work that takes place. You too, be patient and stand firm because the Lord is coming near. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters. So this is a talk. This is James the writer, writing to believers about other believers. And so if you're like a person here this morning who isn't sure about God and you've been hurt because you're like, Christians can be kind of mean. Christians can be kind of judgmental. They can be pretty jerky at times. I want to say, you're right. They can be. Which is why this encouragement is needed. Because you see this at your workplace, you see this in your family. Not everybody listens to everything you say, and not everybody is on their best behavior. Even Christians have moments of failure. So he's encouraging them, don't grumble against one another. You'll be judged. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Christians can judge other Christians, by the way. Don't say it. This is not like Tupac, only God can judge me. All right? Like, this is one of those, like, yes, God can judge you, but believers judge one another. Hey, I love you. Hey, you're doing great. Hey, that part, no, we need to cut that out. That's not what Jesus would do. And so this is talking about this premise. You'll be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Be patient. Brothers and sisters, an example of patience in the face of suffering. Take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count it as blessed, those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance. I want to pause because I do not want to assume that you know who Job is. You're like, that's not Job, that's Job. What's going on? And I want to let you know, we do not slight. If you're not sure about the Bible, you don't understand the Bible, come talk to somebody. We want to be able to help you. You see, so let me give you a snapshot of Job because he's assuming they sat through times where they heard that story again and again and again and again and again. They would know this. You may not. See, Job followed God. And one day Satan comes to God and goes, of course Job follows you. Everything's great. And God goes, you know what? You can do everything but kill him, and my servant will follow me. Satan's like, yeah, right. So Satan digs in his heels. He begins to take, you name it, it was gone. Family, bunch of friends, his land, all of the farming stuff, it was gone. And then it spends like 30 plus chapters of Job really angry and frustrated with God. Don't let anybody ever tell you, I can't believe you're mad at God. You can't be mad at God. God is big enough to handle your doubts, your anger, your frustration, your insecurities. You are not going to derail God. He's God, okay? So don't for a moment believe that somehow your questions and skepticism and doubt, that somehow everybody's going to go, oh, there it was. They totally had it. They derailed Christianity. Hasn't been done. If anything, the people that have tried to disprove it end up hopping on board. So as we move through this, Job's story, and what happens? Shares. and perseverance, and we've seen what the Lord finally brought about. He brought about more than he ever had before. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. And so if you don't get anything, I pray you hear this. An intentional faith is patient. Again, not passive, not like we're just going to sit back. It's active. It excitedly takes part in God's mission without being derailed by life's detours. That you and I, that we don't have when things collapse, and I know it's hard, but we don't for a second go. If you're a believer, I know we have those moments of doubts and those wrestlings and those things, but we eventually come back around and go, God, you are good. Even in the middle of my heavy plight, even in the middle of my marriage breaking apart, even in the middle of kids just like going off the rails, God, even in my job falling apart, even in sickness, even in this diagnosis, God, you are good. I'm going to trust you. And so this patience that we have as we move in this, God, you won't deter me. And so I would ask the question to kind of follow up with that is, what stage of faith are you currently in? See, D.L. Moody puts 3 different stages of faith, and the first one is struggling. It's like a person that is in the ocean and they have nothing, and they're just trying to go. They are just like, if I can get to land, a lifeboat, to something, we're going to be good. And just like, I'm here, I trust you, but this is hard. And that may be you. We're not going to raise hands in this moment, but you know where kind of you're at. All of us are at one of these stages we're about to mention, and we don't want to stay there. And so the first one in that is struggling, this kind of swimming around. The second one is clinging. Someone's throwing you a life preserver. You're like, whew, I can stop swimming. I can stop doing this. You're clinging onto the side of the boat. And you're like, all right, God, it's me and you and your people. We're good, but I'm tired. Can we get in the boat? Like, because I have been swimming for a long time. I'm clinging to you. But the last stage of faith, not the arrival stage. None of us have arrived. Don't think for a moment that you come to church because you're going to let other people know how great you are. Please, there was a bunch of religious leaders during Jesus' time called the Pharisees that spoke a good game and thought they arrived. They were train wrecks. Jesus likened them to whitewashed tombs, pretty on the outside, stench of death on the inside. The third stage of faith is resting. That someone brought you in the boat after struggling and clinging, and you were rejuvenated, which means you have the power now to reach down and bring somebody else up out of the water. You don't sit on the boat and not help, okay? You don't sit on the door and let Jack die, okay? Internet's already cleared up. There was enough room. Rose was selfish. Poor Jack. We bring everybody up that we can, but we have to be intentional in our health to be able to do it, which is why the writer of the Psalm says, I wait patiently for the Lord, and he turned to me and has heard my cry. What are you doing at the stage you're in right now? Because God wants you to move. God doesn't want you to sit and remain stagnant. And I know this is difficult. And depending on life stage, this will be more difficult for you. I remember early on when I was an intern at a church, and they put all the interns up in a house. And my car was not that great. And here, like, just was a piece of junk. And so I would walk to the nearest grocery store. It was just a couple blocks, and I would go, because I was single. I didn't care or whatever. So I would go get, like, a pre-made hoagie and a big thing of Mountain Dew. Because if you're single and you're a guy, that's your diet, okay? Like, you can live off that. Then you hit 30 and you're like, what happened? I looked at the Mountain Dew. You're just like, oh. And so I would go walk up to the grocery store and do this. Well, one of the days I walked up, I grabbed the stuff, I'm standing in line, and the line is taking forever. I mean, it was awful. I was like, what is going on? Did someone fall down? Do we need to call 911? It's not moving. And I was watching the other line moving, and so I was like, I'm about to jump over there. And then I see that line get really long, and the light on mine starts blinking. And I'm like, outside, I'm just standing there like this. On the inside, I'm like, it's turned into like Sam Kinison. I'm like, what is going on? I'm freaking out. And so I'm like, and I'm waiting for a moment. I'm finally like, I've had enough. And so I throw down my sandwich and my Mountain Dew, and I'm like, that's it. I'm going to another grocery store, which was 1.5 miles away. It's the middle of summer. I'm like, it is like that whole thing when you're going through the, like imagine the desert in the cartoon. You're like, I'm never going to make it. And I get to the grocery store. I get the stuff. Didn't have to wait in that line. But now I got to walk all the way back. And like, it was awful. I think I lost 30 pounds, walking out. And I was sweating and walking by. Finally get home and do the thing. And that girl, I just remember thinking, oh, that girl needs to get together. They need to fire her. They need to do whatever. That was ridiculous. And we're gonna pick up in that story in a minute because there's more to what was going on there. Because what I didn't learn at that point, that I learned a couple months later, and God's still working on me on this, is that patient faith is intentionally selfless. That it's not about you and I. That the experiences that you're going through, when you woke up this morning, you're like, I'm going to church because I want to let you know, that is not a good motivation. I'm waking up and God is calling me to be the church because other people are counting on me. It is not, the growth inside you is not for you. It's for others that need you in the community because you guys you're pastors. You go out into the community, you go out with your friends, you go out to whatever. So I need you to be healthy. If you claim Jesus, I need you to get it together. If you claim Jesus, I'm not saying I have everything perfect because we're a ragtag bunch of misfits here at Forefront Church, but I need you to follow Jesus. Why? Because your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors need you. It is not about you, which is why I love the writer Paul, who wrote much of the New Testament, shared these words with the Roman church. So, and we know that in all the things God works good for those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. The thing that you're battling with, that you're angry with God, you're frustrated with God, I get it. God, while he may not have caused it, is going to use it for the future movement that is going to take place. Mark Batterson, he's a pastor in the DC area. He shares it this way: God's in the resume building business. He is always using past experiences to prepare us for future opportunities. And so I'd ask you this question: are you embracing your resume, or are you entrapped by your wreckage? Are you wearing the hurt that you've had like a warm blanket? So the grocery store, a couple months later, I'm still in this internship. And so, of course, I got to eat. So what do? I walk up to the grocery store and get I haven't learned much lessons because I grab my hoagie and I grab my Mountain Dew. I walk up, stand in the line. All the lines are real busy except one. So I'm like, I'm going to hop in there real quick. I'm going to get out. I'm just going to walk. It's only a couple blocks. Getting there, it's that same girl. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, you know what? It's a short line. We're going to be good. Everything's good. It's good. It's good. Light goes blinking. I'm like, you outside. Inside, you've got to be kidding me. I'm freaking out. This cannot be happening to me again. But this time I at least had learned enough to go, that 1.5 mile walk, part of it sucked, okay? It was sweaty, it was gross, it was still hot. I'm not doing it. Not gonna do it. And so, stood my ground. We're gonna wait in this line. So the whole time I'm thinking, no, I'm gonna talk, just gonna put myself, boop, 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 and get out of here. And so get up there, and immediately, it was not like God was like, talk to her, but there was this kind of I felt like I should talk to her, not just hey, how's it going? How's your day? How's the weather? Go Bears. What? I needed to say more. So I said, how are you doing today? I'm not that guy. I'm not, at least then, 20-year-old Jason was not that guy. And she didn't full down breakdown, but she had a little tear collect up. I do not want to make people cry. And I was not prepared for that. I saw it welling up, and immediately it was danger, Will Robinson, danger, abort, there's some sirens going off. And I'm like, this has got to be done. This has got to be done. But again, I had this prompt, and it was like this. And have you ever been in a situation where you just say stuff, and you're like, why am I saying this? Why is this happening? So I was like, are you okay? And she begins to open up about her story. She's like, well, no, I'm not okay. I'm working this job. I work here every day. My parents kicked me out because I got pregnant before I was married, and they're really religious, and they wouldn't have anything to do with me. So I'm living with my friend and her parents, and I come in here, and they watch the kid, and I'm just making enough money. Eventually I want to, and she just starts doing it, and I was like, I am not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. I just wanted a hoagie and a Mountain Dew. I just want to go home. And but I knew, I was like, why am I standing there? Why didn't I leave? Why didn't I do the 1.5 mile walk? And so I made a commitment that day. I was like, I am going to keep coming back to this store as much as my intern budget would allow. So 3 to 4 times a week, I would go and I'd walk up and I'd go and I'd grab the hoagie, I'd grab the thing. I know, not good for me. I'm so I'm walking up, grab all this stuff, and I would purposely find her line every time she was there. And just talk, hey, how are you doing today? And her name was Ann, and I was like, how's your daughter? And she would share her daughter's name and the whole day and going through everything. And I wish they could tell you, because this is like, I wish I could tell you, she came to church, she met Jesus, her daughter now is like, decades later, she's like doing all this stuff, and her mom and dad, they reconnected, whatever. I have no clue what happened to her. But I do know that every single day, our interaction intentionally was causing me to read my Bible more than I ever had before. It was causing me to be intentional about where I went because I wanted to care for this girl that I had no clue what was going on in her life the first time. And I was real mad. I had no clue. She said she had by interaction a couple months later, she said she'd been working there just a little while, which means I may have been there, I don't know, her first day. Jerk, right here. Yeah, uh-oh. And so for me, all I wanted to do was say, God, I want to be intentional with what you've given me, or we would say, an intentional faith is patient, even in an instance at a restaurant, even in an instance where your neighbor hasn't mowed their lawn in like 18 months, and it looks like the, safari going through there. Instead of complaining and calling the city, I don't know, maybe get out there and mow it. Maybe the person that's sitting next to you that's complaining about their meal, maybe they had something really awful happen in their life at the restaurant. Maybe what you need to do, and I know it's hard because, so many people living month to month on paycheck, maybe you build enough margin in your life and cut back on other things and intentional with God so you can pay for that meal and not even bring attention to it. And just write a little note, say, hey, it seemed like you were having a bad day. I just want to let you know that you're loved. You don't write the church name, don't write anything else, because if they go to church somewhere, awesome. I don't care about the name of Forefront Church. I care that you are intentional with God and you go out and love people well. Because when you love people well, our city changes. Our world changes. And when we're intentional with that, we're excited to take part in God's mission, and we're not derailed by the things going on because we're too busy loving people. I don't meet very many people that are all in for God's mission who also have time to complain. You just don't have it. And so if you find yourself complaining a lot, I'd probably be willing to bet that you're not on mission for what God's called you to. I want Forefront Church, not a building, but individuals, to be men, women, middle schoolers, and high schoolers, little kids, people that go, I love Jesus, and I will love you like Jesus so that you can experience what it means to have grace and love in your life, no matter where you've been, what you've done, or what you believe. But that comes when you're focused with intentionality and you're patient with God. You're patient with this movement. And I can't make you choose that. At the end of every message, I have people come up to me all the time. You left me with more questions. You left me frustrated. Good. Because you need to work that faith out for yourself so you can be better for the people around you. I don't want you to live off my faith. God called you to a unique faith that will be lived out in beautiful ways. But you have to make that choice. And my prayer is that you choose Jesus. But the only person that can make that choice is you. We'd love to talk to you about that. What will you choose? Thanks for tuning in to the Forefront Church video podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this has left you encouraged and challenged you in your faith. And you might have some questions and some ways that you want to figure this out, and we want to help with that. Head over to forefrontchurch.info, and there's a couple different ways that you can connect. Click the Connect tab and let us know how we can be praying for you, or a staff member can be contacting you this week. Maybe you have just been encouraged by this and want to support the ministry here at Forefront Church. You can click the Giving tab, as well as other tabs that are in there to help you along in your journey with God. And so we're thankful for you. Thanks for tuning in. And we cannot wait to see you again here online on the video podcast. We love you, and we'll see you then.